Everybody, Roy Ice here, Master Certified Life Coach, and in this session, we're going to be talking about the section of your life coaching sessions called Explore. You need to listen 80% of the time and only speak 20% of the time. Stories typically equate with excuses. Wow, I didn't know we could go so far so fast.
Watch us and win with us.
So what does it mean to help your client explore after they've basically laid out what the challenge is that they want to tackle and to find success in? So how do you help your client explore this issue? Well, the first thing you have to do, number one, is you need to listen 80% of the time and only speak 20% of the time. So how do you do that and bring your client a lot of success? Well, it has to do with the fact that you don't make statements. In fact, if anything that you're saying ends with a period or an exclamation mark, you need to get out of that habit. Because to be the most powerful life coach, everything needs to end with a question mark. And so in the exploring phase here, what you do is you clarify. Become the most curious person you can be. Perhaps you're naturally curious and you want to know why, or tell me more about that. If that's the case, you're going to be an incredible life coach, because as you listen and you learn more about what this person is struggling with to get around these obstacles, to find success in whatever area of life that they've come to you for help, whether it's relationship, finances, work, success, any area of life. If they've come to you and they say, this is what I want, the biggest question you should have in your mind is, well, what's the obstacle between them and what they want? Because to you as an individual, a third person, you're like, oh my word, this person's so talented, or they're wealthy already, or wow, they seem like a nice person. Why would they have relationship issues? You as the coach need to be extremely curious. You may feel very, very tempted to say, well, have you tried this? And have you tried that? Because it ends in a question mark, but actually we call those quagestions. A question smashed together with a suggestion. And that's probably one of the worst things that you could do for your client. And here's why. They're not going to tell you everything about their life. They're going to be very selective in what they tell you about even the challenges and the obstacles. That's why we ask questions, because if I'm to give you a suggestion, I'm going to completely miss something that you as the client are not going to tell me. You're not going to tell me why there is an issue between you and having a relationship with someone else, or why you feel stuck in your job at a certain level, or why there are certain issues you can't get past. The client is not going to tell you 100%. They'll tell you maybe 75% if they're really open. And so in the explore phase of your session, you want to spend 30 minutes getting as clear as you can about what are the obstacles that they see in their way. Why is it that they have not tried some different methodologies than what they've tried in addressing these obstacles? What are the challenges that are keeping them paralyzed? Perhaps they're having the paralysis of analysis and they've been overthinking something. So you're just taking notes and notes, everything that they say. You ask a question, oh, wow. The response was, wow, I never would have guessed that. And you're here as much as possible, just in a non-distracting way, just taking notes. And I always tell my clients, hey, I'm taking notes because I want to recall as much as I can when we're done with this section, so that when we get to the action plan area, that I'll be able to recall all these different things that you're saying, so that we can start reminding ourselves of all the different things that we've gone through in exploring what this issue is. Now, sometimes your clients will get really stuck, and for the most part, your clients are going to open up. I mean, they're paying you money. They want to get as much as they can out of this session as quickly as they can as well, because they see you're not wasting their time by saying, oh yeah, I go through the same thing. My friend Joe or my spouse, or you're not coming back with, I relate to you, and here's my story, and here's how you and I connect. Now, you'll be very tempted to do that because human nature says the more you and I share common experiences, the more you'll bond with me. As a beginning life coach, one of the challenges you're going to have is understanding that the worst thing you could do is tell people your life story. They're not there to be your therapist. They're not there to help you feel better. And you will not bond more with your client if you're telling them you go through the same thing. You can affirm by saying, wow, I know how you feel, but what is the list of things that you've tried? Give me a list of things that you've tried in response to trying to resolve this issue. But don't go through and say, well, when my spouse does this, here's 3 things that I've tried. No, do not give suggestions because your client is less likely to take action if it's your story and not theirs. So make sure that it's their plans and their solutions, not yours. Now, some of the things that I do that might seem like, well, that's not really a question. That's actually doing something quite different with your client is what I use, especially when my client is stuck. How do you help your client get unstuck? And I'm going to give you just a couple of ideas here. Sometimes my clients, because they've been in a situation or been stuck for so long, they need a difference in perspective. And so one of the things that I do is I ask them to live as if. I put them into a mindset as if they've already accomplished this. And I ask them to close their eyes, to get a picture in their mind, to imagine life beyond this obstacle and life when they've accomplished whatever it is they've come to accomplish. And in that mode, they start smiling, they start being more confident, and from the other side, they can actually see what are the steps that are necessary to get around. That's one thing. Another one is kind of unique. I ask my clients to get up. And whether it's in my office or a lot of times now it's on Zoom, and perhaps a lot of your clients you'll meet with on Zoom, I ask them to go place themselves in the room, especially if the issue is an individual that represents that individual. One time I had a client that the issue was she really felt like because she was highly successful, a very rich woman, was feeling like she was having quite a disconnect with her young son. And so I said, would you mind going and laying in your bed? Because she had told me her son sometimes comes and lays next to her in bed and asks her questions. And that's one of the places that they connect the most. I said, would you mind getting up and just go lay down in your bed? And so she says, okay. And I say, close your eyes. Now you're not you, you're your son now. And I asked her a series of questions based on, as if I was asking the son, how he felt and what were some of the things that he really wanted. And she had to put herself in the place of the son. Perhaps the issue, they need to be in a different chair and go sit in a different chair because it's their boss or it's a coworker, or it's an employee, or it's some other family member. And I ask them to put themselves in a place that helps them embody that person, to help them see from the perspective of someone else. So this is very valuable to you in the Explore section if you're working with a client who really cannot see past their own nose. And you, as the coach, are thinking in your mind, holy cow, I wish you had a different perspective, but all you're seeing is me, 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 me. And so use some of these tactics during the Explore section in order to help your client get out of their way and even physically get into a place that will help them mentally see things from a different perspective. Now, you really have to watch the clock during this section of your life coaching because you have about 30 minutes during your 1-hour session with your client, and this could really go long. With some clients especially, if they start telling story and giving excuses, this can take forever. So you really want to move your client during this part of your sessions because you want to throw out as many ideas as you can. This is the part of your session where you're just throwing out every idea. What's a possibility? What might work? And in fact, those are some of the questions that you ask. So let's just throw a bunch of ideas out here. What are different ways that we can address this? And so watch the clock. Because if you're coming around and you're already at the 50-minute mark of the session, you really need to start winding down the Explorer, because you need to give yourself 11 minutes for your action plan. And that's where this power is really going to come into your session. For me, I usually look around in between 40 and 45 minutes into the session. I'm like, okay, I've got to wrap it up. And one of the comments that people have made who have gone through the sessions with me is, wow, I didn't know we could go so far so fast. And it's because I'm very, very intentional during the explore stage to make sure I'm not wasting any time. I'm going time to time. And in fact, sometimes I even have to tell my clients, hey, this is an amazing story. Can I help you? Because this is your money and you're spending a lot of money for this session. And I want to make sure at the end, you feel like, wow, I got so much from this time. And I definitely not only got my money's worth, but this has been priceless. And so there are times, in a very polite way, you'll just have to help your client get away from the stories. Stories typically equate with excuses. They have to tell you the story while you'll understand they didn't take the steps. For you, you don't care. You don't care why they haven't taken the steps in the past. You just need to help them understand there are steps that they can take in the present to change their future. If you have any questions or comments about this part, the explore phase during your sessions, please write them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to help unpack some of the extra things I didn't have time to go through in this video. And as always, definitely subscribe and like this video, because I would love to help you wherever you are to have the best life coaching sessions ever. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Watch us and win with